It's pie chart time. I know it's everyone's favorite time. It's my favorite. I know it's your favorite. You're like, no, pie chart time is not my favorite time. Dinner time is my favorite. Pie chart is like 75th on my list. Well, it's pie chart time. Anyway, today, this is the balance patch poll from, let's just call it October, because this is from after the most recent balance patch came out, is people gave their opinions after the balance patch. So we'll just call it October so that people aren't confused and like, no, you got to do it again because the balance patch. This is post balance patch for October 2022. So keep in mind that we want to pay attention to the orange areas. Who thinks Vanessa needs a nerf? Someone thinks Vanessa's too OP. The orange areas are things that need a nerf. Oliver, you're going to notice, is probably going to be completely massive. It's going to be like mostly orange. It's not going to be mostly orange. I would guess like 1/3, but we'll see. And then the blue is needing a buff. So if it's mostly red, it's mostly good. Although I did get some of you guys. Let's just get it started. So most of these are fairly Vanessa. People think she needs a buff, which it's not bad. Perna mostly fine. Rakan mostly fine. Juno needs a nerf. Hold on, guys. I think Juno is necessary. I don't think she necessarily needs a nerf. Rika is pretty good. Leica, but I did see some comments that were like, "Oh, you need to split this up, this red area from no opinion to or mostly fine or no opinion to them being two separate things." So we'll probably do that in the next one. Leica, some people think that he did just get a buff though. I guess they just feel that it's not enough, but. Wang, he did just also get a buff, but people think that it doesn't. Veladrul's got a big area. I kind of tend to agree because Veladrul was a highly sought after unit in the very beginning, but now he's still one of my favorites, but he's not as effective as. I still actually use him on a regular basis, but that's for Siege. Feng Yan, Veladrul, and Dagora? Yeah, I think so. But there's a big blue area for Veladrul, so that is good. You guys not appreciating this unit enough. He's an AoE. The people that I fought earlier this week on Europe server definitely are not going to vote for him to get a buff because they're like, Kumar just wrecked my wombo combo. So yeah, go take a look. I know a lot of people didn't watch some of those videos, some of those like spotlight montage videos. Kumar is a usable unit. He even got a leader skill. So this is after his leader skill and his buff to skill 1. He can strip and silence with skill 1. He's got an AoE cleanse and AoE silence with skill 3. And he has a heal and he's tanky bruiser. HP leader skill. I think that you guys need to, honestly, I don't think Kumar needs buff. I think that Kumar is fine. I think you guys need to actually play around with him and use him and learn how to do it. Rocky just got a buff. This is after. Did you guys not get the memo that we got a balance match? Like, Rocky just got a buff. I guess people think she needs another buff. I mean, this is after. This is not the. What was she before? I can look at the one from. Okay, actually, she is about 3% less voted for a buff in this one than the last one. So yeah, because the last one there was actually more people that thought she needed a buff. What about Kumar? Oh, actually, no. You know what? Kumar's needs a buff area has gone down. It was 67 before. Now it's 49.4. So that actually did go down quite significantly. People that know Kumar's he's more useful than you guys give him credit for, though. I think that the other 49% of people need to play around with him. Rocky, I actually didn't play around with just yet, or I don't know when I'm going to upload this, but I didn't play around with just yet. I'm excited to play around with her, though. She's on my list of ones that I want to try sooner rather than later. Brandy's actually could be kind of useful, and I've seen some people make Brandy work in PvP. But yeah, still a decent blue chunk. Okay. Guys, do you really want to go down the path of buff Oki? I think Oki is fine. I haven't been using him lately, but I don't think that this it's not because he needs a buff. I just haven't. I don't know why I haven't been. Oh, because he's not in my favorites. Because I took him out of my favorites and then I forget he exists. Okay, Daphnis. Well, Daphnis did just get a buff. What was Daphnis before? Daphnis. Okay, so less people think that Daphnis needs a buff. Now people think he needs a nerf. I mean, a couple, not really anything crazy. Xiong Fei, Actually about the same as before. What do people think Xiongfei needs a nerf? Who is trolling that bad? All right. Helena, Ophelia needs. Well, okay, I could see that. I mean, just one strip, like one chilling, that takes out Ophelia for the most part. So I could see her getting something, right? Belinus, most of these things. Man, you really want it? You're like, no, my R5 is too. You need to make him do way more damage. My R5's too. Takes too long. What, 30 seconds is too long? I don't know. Bale? Or, yeah, I could definitely see that. Masha, 41% think that she needs a nerf. I think it's time for a Masha counter video to help you guys counter her. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem countering Masha. It's the violent pride. It's always additional turn. Like, it's like 175% chance for her to get an additional turn. And then after the additional turn happens, like the first time she's like, defense break. Okay, well, it didn't kill. Additional turn. Okay, well, then it's dead. Whatever it was, it's dead. So, yeah, that's... For me, it's always the additional turn that kills. It's not the unit itself getting one turn. It's the unit getting the second turn. That's the same thing with Dominic. Like, he doesn't kill... he's not going to destroy your entire team with one turn. He's going to destroy your team... Well, he's going to destroy one unit with the second turn, and then he'll just continue going. If it's siege defense, he'll just continue going until he's obliterated the entire team. Jogun mostly fine. Douglas mostly fine. Some people opinionated either way. Douglas has soloed me this week. I'll be honest, but, you know, it's just RNG. It's RNG, and, yeah, could have brought in more counters to him. I think Douglas is fine. Bernadotte, I think Bernadotte is fine. Also Carnal, some people think he needs a buff, some people think that's a beautiful looking Pac-Man right there. Timo, some people think that she still needs Coco. You know what? I really kind of want Coco, but I could also see if I had Coco, I probably wouldn't use it as much as I think I would. John does not need a buff. John is solid. John is a solid unit. He's got increased cooldown with skill 2. He's got the bombs with skill 3. I mean, like, it's a bomber, right? Like, so you think about it, like, oh, is it any better than the light? I mean, the light bomber is pretty solid, but John's a solid unit. What else could I mean? He could do something else with skill 3, like a bomb, and then dance around. I don't know. Maybe a little one, not like anything crazy though. We don't need to make him ridiculous. He's a good... I like him. I think he's a good unit, but yeah, I could probably use many other bombers. Like, I would probably use the light bomber or Malaka in that place, or the wind bomber in that place, and be like, oh yeah, this is good too. So maybe I just like bombers. I don't know. Nora? Yeah, Nora's pretty solid. Nora does not need a buff. Carlos... Well, I think people... I don't think that Carlos needs a buff. I think people just didn't play around with him enough yet. Well, actually, let me get a better handle for him after the patch, because I think he's fine. I think he's in a fine spot now, but I'll play around with him some more to get a better idea. Ren. So many people were so excited about him when he first came out. They're like, oh my god, he's so good. And now it's like 52% need a buff. Right. Claire, this is the fire... I think that people just need to see these units more in... I'm not that excited about the Claire. I probably would have said that she still needs a buff. If I didn't even take the poll. I probably should have taken the poll, but you know, I'm the one yelling about things. So I still think that she needs a buff as well. Lucy. Oh yeah, Lucy. Ooh. You know what? No opinion either way. So this should have been another separate choice. So, because Fire Pure Vanilla really not as I mean, like, you can combo her, but it's a combo unit for the most part, and it's really not as efficient or effective as other things. Alice is fine for the most part. Camila. So many people will disagree with me that Camila. They're like, no, Camila is fine. Like, because some people use her in Europe server rush hour. I'm sure on the other servers as well, but my argument is, if a unit can be useful to some people for 1 hour a week, in one specific area, and it's in Nat 5, it probably needs a buff. Guys, this is an 87.1. This is not just my opinion. This is 87.1% of the players that were polled. Or, I mean, everyone could, everyone was, this poll was open to everyone, but 87% of the people that voted think that Camila needs a buff. It's not just me. I know people think it's like, it's just stupid. Oh, you're so stupid. Oh my goodness. Clearly, I'm not the only one. Varad mostly fine. Sigmar, I think Sigmaris is still a solid unit. You don't need it to be ridiculous OP. It's a solid unit. I think you guys maybe don't use them enough. Sigmaris is pretty good. You could use them in more things than you probably do. Water Chimera. I mean, that's kind of the thing, is like Sigmaris is super good. Well, Water Chimera did also get a buff that he's guaranteed crit with skill 2 now. So, what is the condition? If the speed is higher than the opponent's, I think. I'm trying to remember, because they changed it. It was if it's under CC, then it's guaranteed crit. Now it's if the speed is higher than the opponent. I believe that that's what it is for skill 2. But yeah, we'll play around with him. I think the Sigmaris is fine though. Water Chimera, I think that just adding speed, I think the base speed change would be enough. Praha is fine, Anavel's fine, Chow actually, well, I mean, he's not very exciting to use for most people, I don't think, because he's a tanky bruiser, so his base attack is not that great at the beginning of the battle anyway. But he's more just like a long-term bruiser, just violent destroy, I think. So, Shihao, mostly fine. Ariel, mostly fine. Some people think he needs a buff. Until you don't land any CC or increase cooldowns on him on arena defense, and you can't kill him right away, and then he destroys all hopes and dreams. Chandra did get a buff. There's some people that think that Chandra is OP. I don't think that they actually think Chandra is OP. They're just saying Chandra's OP. Beth is... I still prefer her heal block. Skill 3. I don't know. I think maybe you guys should use Beth more. Chandra, I'll see. You know, it's really Chandra's the same for the most part. Chandra's the same, but just as a speed lead now. So most of Chandra is the same. I can't really argue too much with these. Like, Beth is not anything crazy OP. I think she's a decent unit, but not crazy OP. Wusa doesn't need... Wusa's for the most part good. Alicia's for the most... Alicia does not need a buff. There's no way that Alicia needs a buff. She's one of the best arena offense units in the game. She actually has the highest... I think the highest win rate for a Nat 5 in RTA for this past season. It was very, very high win rate. So I do not think that Alicia needs a buff. If the unit is... For a non-LD... The stipulations are it's a non-LD and 500 or more matches that she was used in. 500 plus matches that any units were used in. And she was the one that had the highest win rate for any fire, wind, water, Nat 5s that were used in 500 plus matches. She had the highest win rate of all of them. So I think that you get... And she's amazing in arena offense. I use her every single day, without fail. Every day. She's my favorite arena offense. I think she might be my favorite arena offense unit, period. I don't think that she needs a buff. Theomars. Okay, well, I mean, you can still just chilling at skill 3 against Theomars. So... Theomars did start getting used to get... They reduced his cooldowns by 4 turns on his... Wasn't it 4 turn cooldown reduction on his passive? Because people figured out how to counter him. Like, just a chilling. That's the easiest way to counter Theomars is chilling, because it just strips if he's got an attack power buff on him. He's ready to do some damage. You just strip, you slow him, which means he does less damage because it's damage based on speed. And then, you know, you just... When he's got his passive, chilling just goes right through that. So just strips it off, takes it for himself, and then kills. So chilling is like the best Theomars counter. Then there's Poseidon, which is very good. Bastet, which is very good. Samath, very good. Molong, very good. I should go over these faster because we're going to be here. We've already been 15 minutes already, and we're going to be here for another 4.5 hours. Abellio needs nerf. Abellio's a frustration for me. Mostly because I can never seem to cool him down. I'm like, oh, I'll just increase his cooldown. Never mind. No, it's okay. That's not gonna. Abelio just doesn't want to get cooldown increased. Constant frustration for me. I think that he needs to be there, though. I don't think that he... I think that I just need to accept that I'm going to lose against that every so often, and I don't think that he necessarily needs a nerf. Some of these units actually need to be strong, even though they counter some teams that we like playing with. Some of them need to be where, like the Juno as well. Douglas, is that like sometimes you're just going to lose to them, and that's just how it is. Bulwark needs a nerf. Was Bulwark, did people really think Bulwark needed a nerf before, or... I can't imagine. Yeah, it's about the same, actually. It's about the same as last time. No real change. Belial did get... More people actually think that he needs a buff now. By like 13%. Belial. Barbara, mostly fine. Some people think... Who thinks she needs a nerf? People just figured out that, like, oh, you can Leo. And then Leo's like a direct counter to Barbara. So... I think people knew that at the very beginning, but then, well, actually not even just Leo Ragdoll. Like, there's enough people in RTA with Leo Ragdoll because there's so many Ragdoll accounts and John accounts that get sold. If a new player gets, or an account farm gets John or Ragdoll, those go on the market. So those are highly sought after. They have been highly sought after LD accounts to buy and sell. So that's why you see so many people with Gian and Ragdoll and RTA, is because they are specifically buying those accounts. Like, those accounts are bought and sold more than anything else. Also, those are older units, so more people have the older LD5s because there's more time to accumulate those over the years versus like the newer LD5s, which people have only had like a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple, you know, a year or two even to accumulate, but versus like Ragdoll and Gianna. So... hey gang, mostly fine, more mostly fine. Borg9 is pretty solid. He's not for everywhere. Borg9 is pretty solid. I don't even have Devilmons into Mon. I don't have Devilmons into mine. He's still a solid unit. So, you really don't, it's just as passive. You really don't need Devilmons in him. Put him on Revenge, make him super tanky, good resistance, and he does amazing things. Shizuka. Shizuka is a kind of a pain sometimes. Her win rate in RTA specifically is not anything like super ridiculous. It's just like, it's good, but it's not ridiculous. It's just, man, sometimes she just does crazy things. I feel like she was probably not that bad before. Just like, she needs a buff, and she was already good. I feel like she was already a solid unit before, though. Nana for the most part, but like I feel the frustration of Shizuka sometimes. The biggest counter of Shizuka is just increasing her cool time. So whether it's Oliver or Xiangpeng or Sekhmet, those are things that people like to increase their cool time with. There was another counter. What was the counter? Oh, I'm gonna do a video on it. I was saying there's another counter of Shizuka. What was it? But I'm gonna do a video on the Shizuka counter that you guys, I know one's using it for the Shizuka counter, but. Then we have Nana, which is mostly fine. Miles is mostly fine. Aaliyah, which, you know, it's not, you know, everyone's excited about Riley because Riley. I really hope Riley's got this big orange area that says like nerf this unit because it's OP. It's great that we have a free-to-play, friendly, farmable, or fusible, really, really solid unit. But man, Liam is a fun unit. Liam is damage. He's CC. He's a unit that changes based on how you use him and how many opponents you're fighting at any given time. So I've been enjoying Liam. I was totally down for the buff before, but ever since he got his buff, I think he's a solid unit now. I can use him with no problems. I really enjoy using him. So yeah, Minato. I think Minato, you know, it would have been nice to see a little something with Minato in this one because CC is a very strong counter to Minato. If you guys are having, for those of you that think that he needs a nerf, CC is a strong counter to Minato. Amber, which Amber I think is fine. We just did a video on her the other day. I think she's fine. You know, she's not crazy, but she's a pretty solid unit. You can even build her multiple different ways. You can build her as a fast damage dealer, which is speed, crit damage, attack. You can also just build her with speed, HP, and accuracy, and just use her kind of like you can with the fire I was gonna say Fire Occult Girl. Lols. Adriana, the water pure vanilla, or pudding. No, what? Adriana's fine. So water pure vanilla. If you guys don't, I put these just in case people didn't know which one was which. Adriana's fine though. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah. And then we have Manon, the water holly berry, which it's all RNG. I think maybe people are thinking that this needs a higher activation rate for her passive, because her passive most of the time just doesn't activate, but so does Molly. But people are like, oh, Molly's passive activates all the time. It's like, it really doesn't. And you find that out after you start picking her in RTA. You're like, oh, I'm gonna aggressively pick Molly. Oh, she didn't do anything the whole match. Okay, it's really not a huge chance for that to unless it's unless you're in Guild Siege fighting a Molly. It's really not that crazy. Had to pause for a bit. My apartment was getting a phone call. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen, is apartments get phone calls, but apparently so many fun things can happen nowadays. So my apartment's more popular than I am. So we're on to wind ones now. Katarina, 47.1% people think that she needs a buff. This is down from 50.7 before in the last poll. She did get a buff in the last patch for one extra hit with her skill 3. The thing is, though, with Katarina, first off, you need to take turn 1. You need to outspeed your opponents and also have invincibility. So you can use Kabezanuf. You could have always used Kabezanuf or Chloe and an attack power buffer, but there's so many fast, aggressive teams with strips and also fire threats that have strips, like, for example, Clara and Rakan, and things that go through, like Carcano goes through invincibility. So there's just a lot of things that are already counters to Katarina in Siege. In RTA, if you want to use her in RTA, you would need to make sure that the invincibility actually gets through the pick ban phase and you are faster than your opponents, because if you're not faster and have the invincibility, then she really doesn't do much. Like, without that invincibility, she does some damage, but she's just a vanilla wind damage dealer. So I think that one of the things here that I want to mention is, if you look at all of the Valkyrias, people think that all of them need a buff. So just buffing their skill 2, because their skill 2 is not very exciting. If they just buffed all the skill 2s to be more useful, more relevant, that could be, I mean, she does give herself invincibility with skill 2s, but I think buffing the skill 2s for all the Valkyrias could be something that makes them all relevant. So just wanted to mention that, because it's not just her, it's Camila, it's Vanessa. We're going to get to Trinity, which I'm sure is going to have a big blue area. And then I'm not sure about Akroma. I think Akroma's in the best spot of all of them, but I mean, we'll see. Akroma owner's still going to be like, nope, needs a buff. Everything I have needs a buff. All the fun toys. Then we have Jameer, who people think is fine. Tashar, who, I mean, he's got the stun now. He's got good base speed, does a lot of damage potentially, but aside from the damage, he's AoE damage and stun. So a lot of people think he's fine. Needs a nerf. Who's thinking Tashar needs a nerf? Like Maron, a lot of people think like Maron needs a buff. Interesting. Well, like Maron actually did, but this is after the buff. He did just get changed, or maybe, I think depending on your play style, these chimeras either got a nerf or a buff in the last one, because the condition changed for their skill too. So 51.6% think that Lagmoron needs a buff. Ciara, Ciara does not need a buff. Needs a nerf, needs a buff. Ciara's fine, I think. Charlotte's actually used decent. Well, actually, I didn't take a look at the recent data from Charlotte, but I know the season before this past season, she was used actually quite a decent amount in high-level RTA. So Leo's fine. Leo's the only one that does what Leo does, so Leo's just going to be fine. I don't see him getting much of anything in the future. Maybe, if anything, like more attack gauge decrease with skill, with his passive. Which one? This is skill 3, the passive. Xingzhe, for the most part, is fine. A little bit of people. Eladriel. See, this is one of the things that I mentioned. Well, actually, I mentioned this in the other videos, like units that don't get used too much anymore. See, this big blue 63.5%. People agree with me that Eladriel doesn't really get used for too much. He is useful in a couple areas, but he really doesn't get used as much as he used to. He's really not, I mean, he did not stand the test of time. Archangels in general, they could buff the Archangels and the Valkyrias, and there'd be maybe one of these balance patches, maybe we just get an Archangel and Valkyrja buff, and they just buff all of them in the same one. That'd be fun. They buff like all the all the biblical units. I guess they're gonna buff the demons too. Ritesh just got a. What is his leader skill now? Because they gave them the leader skills that we've been asking for, but I don't remember exactly what he got. I think Ritesh is fine. I don't think that he really needs a buff. He got a leader skill, which is the big thing that I think needed changed. But what do you guys think Ritesh should actually get if he needs? He has a defense buff. He has a defense break. He sets up. He's the only unit that has a defense buff and defense break in the same. Someone's gonna be like, no, it's this unit has that one too. There might be something like a single target one, but this is an AOE. So he's like the Galleon for defense scaling units. Like, for example, if you want to do a cleave with Varad or another defense scaling unit. I think that Ritesh is fine. Ethna is fine. You know, these things have big red areas. So a Chamomere, 70.3%. I mean, if it's got 70.3%, then it's something. Maybe if he had some debuffs on skill 3, that could be an interesting, because he's got a speed lead. You don't want to make him too crazy, and he's available for everyone. So I don't see him being super OP at any point, but Tessarion I just feel is the best of Freet. He's so useful. Like, half the units in the meta are passives. So Tessarion is just like, I'm going to counter all of that. Anything that has Oblivion is super useful nowadays. But yeah, I think maybe if he had debuffs on skill 3, again, he's got a speed lead, so you don't want to make him too crazy. We're going to have an Oliver situation if you give him too much, but maybe some debuffs on skill 3 could be a thing. Triton, mostly fine. Hathor, poor Hathor. Hathor just got nerfed for... Remember when everyone was like, nerf Hathor, and then they're like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to make so many units useful against Hathor that Hathor just gets a nerf that way. I don't think we need a buff for Hathor. Hathor's had her time to shine. She's had years of being dominant. I don't really want a Hathor buff, because I don't want another Hathor meta of like 30-minute RTA matches where you're just like, I'm gonna go get a sandwich in the kitchen because they're just Ganny Hathoring me, so maybe I'll get a turn 20 minutes into the match. And they're like, nope, I speed tuned. I got all my... Oh, no. Because you know anyone that was Ganny Hathoring made sure they got their speed ticks and everything. So, yeah, Ganymede, I think, is fine. These units, Feng Yin is mostly fine. Diana's mostly fine. Nerf Diana. These are the people that were scarred from Diana taking all the turns in the match. The match was halfway done, and then Diana's like, I'm going to take all the turns. You get none. And the person just sitting there like, oh, she's got another additional turn again. Oh, additional turn again. Oh, additional turn again. Scarred for life. Usually I'm the one abusing those additional turns, so I can't really complain about those. But yeah, there's so many crazy videos out there. Not even just that I've seen. There's so many crazy videos of Diana getting like all the turns. Louise, she's in a pretty decent spot. I mean, if they buffed Louise, I wouldn't complain. I'd be like, oh, okay. That could be fine. I mean, she's a support unit, but it's not that she's doing amazing things. Not that it's a Louise heavy meta. Tyrannus, most of these things are fine. Odin is fine. Christine. I'm not the only one. People attack me. They're like, she doesn't need a buff. You can use her against this one specific team in Guild Siege if you're lucky. That doesn't mean that she's amazing. Like, there's 4 stars that you could use against one specific guild. Like, it's just, it's niche. It needs a nerf. Lols. It's 82%. It's not just my opinion, guys. I hate to tell you, but if this much is blue, it's not just my opinion. I know people like to attack me, but it's not just my opinion. Mephisto, I think Mephisto's, personally, I think he's really good. His passive is awesome. I use him. I mean, he basically just counters revive teams. Just himself just being there, and then he increases deck. I have mine on Swift, very fast on Swift. FY, if you guys didn't try that. I do like him very fast on Swift. But you can even run him as a bruiser, and he could be good too. So, because I had him on just slow as a bruiser. Not when I say slow, I mean plus like 100 speed. So, my definition of slow is different than you guys' definition of slow. But I had him in a bruiser team. He was working great there. Man, Nana's everywhere. Things that revive. Perna's, you know. You could run him as a tanky bruiser to be able to withstand some hits from Perna. We have... Where are we? Oh, yeah, we're on Mephisto. Savannah. Savannah's a solid unit. Who needs a buff, Savannah? Get out of here. Shung Pung needs a buff. Enough people think that she needs a... When units are good, when they're dominant, you know? People gonna put that. Kashmir and Cigar. Okay, so Cigar is he's pretty solid. I'm glad people are actually finally appreciating him. I think he's a good unit. We have Kashmir. He just got buffed. I still think it wasn't enough. I played around with him. I was going to do a Kashmir video. Maybe I uploaded a little clip from it. I don't know if I did or not. I'm kind of on the fence mentally. I'm always on the fence mentally. I'm on the fence of whether I'm going to upload the clip or not. But yeah, he needs something with his skills. I just feel like it's not enough. I get what he's supposed to be for, but maybe if he like doesn't glance at all with any of the hits, that could be good enough. That could be good enough. That's just my my impression. 50.2. Well, at least 48.8%. Well, actually, I was gonna say at least 48.8% of you think that she's fine, but it's really not. It's just no opinion. Like a lot of people have no opinion either way. Zhao is a pretty... She's not for everywhere, but so many people don't know what she does and didn't bother using her because they're like, oh, she's not very fun. She's not a big damage dealer. She doesn't do like a crazy immunity or whatever. Crazy immunity. That's what Riley does, crazy immunity. But this is a solid enough unit that people don't know what she does. So people just picking things that she's good at. Like I was picking her. And I was doing RTA with her. I always use her on the Asia server account, picking her, doing RTA with her. People just drafting things that she counters after she comes out. I'm like, they don't know what she does. They wouldn't be drafting that if they knew what she did. I think people just have to get more comfortable fighting with her and using her and trying her out. And they would realize that she's actually a pretty solid unit. She just got a buff too. This is after the buff. So what was her stats before the buff? Where is she? Oh my good. 57 down to 50.2. Okay. Well, at least 7% more people are on the Xiao bandwagon. Then we have Momo, which about the same actually. Well, Momo, of course, she would be about the same because she didn't get touched in this balance patch. You see the big orange. Oh man. 71.5%. I really like to play with Oliver, but I think Contrast needs to address if it's 71.5%. There are people that are perfectly fine playing against Oliver. I'm one of them. I understand how to counter Oliver. I really like playing with Oliver because he's so strong. But if it's 71.5% and playing in Special League where things can get banned, right? The pre-ban, Oliver and Masha. Oliver Masha just all the time. Oliver Masha. I think that maybe those units need to be, of course, after SWC because they're not going to touch these super meta units before SWC. So I wasn't really expecting them to, but after SWC, I wouldn't be surprised to see Oliver and Masha nerfs. I hope they don't nerf Oliver to the ground. I'm kind of concerned that they might overdo it, but hopefully they don't overdo it. But yeah, Momo is, well, we don't really need to talk too much, but she got a leader skill change. That wasn't this last patch, though, anyway. Riley! At least 29.7 people think that Riley needs a... She is... Oh, my God. It's so frustrating, Riley just having all of her whatever skills she wants available at any given time. You can't really do too much of anything to Riley. So, and by the way, the 71.5%, like, if you have Masha and you're not picking Masha into Oliver, pick Masha into Oliver. She's already one counter. That's why she's... So that's why she's all over the place, because they're just picking her into Oliver. And even if she's not getting picked into Oliver, she's just good in many situations already. So, yeah. That many people frustrated with the Riley. Dominic, 45%. I mean, I think if there's big orange areas, these are things that Kanto should at least consider. I mean, they probably already considered them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see. It's so easy to nerf him to unusable, though, if they nerf Dominic too much. I personally don't really think that Dominic needs a nerf. I think that him getting additional turns is what kills things. And I think that if they did too much, it's so easy to nerf Dominic to unusable and no one cares about him again. So I think they got to be very careful. Maybe giving him like one less hit with I don't know. It's just too. It would be too easy to nerf Dominic to the ground to unusable. So got to be very careful. Needs a buff. Trolls Zen. So 68.8%. Couldn't one more person couldn't have really. One more person couldn't have said needs a buff. This is the Wind Shadowcaster. I actually use him. I use him on the when I want to take turn 1. He's on Swift on the Europe server account. He does his thing. I could see him getting a buff, but I personally have had good luck with him recently so far, so I don't really want to say needs a buff. Is mostly fine. Maybe I'm just getting lucky using him, or maybe I have enough stuff, the right stuff to follow him up with that it's really not too much of an issue, but. He did get a... Well, actually, no. He did get a buff in this last one. Wait a second. What was he at before? If 68.8 now... What was he at before? He got... Wait a second. He got buffed and more people think that he needs a... Did you guys know that he got buffed? Did you read the balance patch? He got more votes for needing a buff after he was buffed. That doesn't make any sense. That's illogical. I don't get that. Alright, people probably didn't realize that he got a buff in the balance patch. Sonya, which is basically the same. Sonya got buffed too. She's the same. No people have different opinions on her before or after. Same thing. She got buffed though. I think that maybe it wasn't enough, you know? So. And then Angela, the Wind Pure Vanilla. I don't really like her. I can see the giant blue area. I think most of the red area is just people that don't have an opinion either way or don't know. But yeah, I think that she's... I'm not a huge fan. I think that she needs quite a lot to be something exciting. Wind Hollyberry, Macaron Guard. She's basically a better version. She's like Emma and Mav together. So, I mean, I could see if they give her something extra, I could see that. I think that if, as it is, she's just... a unit that's not going to get used that much, but I don't think that she's completely terrible. Like, I don't think she's one of the worst ones from the balance. I really, the Fire Pure Vanilla and the Fire Pure Vanilla and the Wind Pure Vanilla, I was really not very excited about. So, yeah, these new cookie monsters were not anything really crazy, but to begin with. But you know, she does have her uses. But then we have a Chroma. 41.1, and she is the one that I think she might be the most red area and orange area of all of these, the mostly fine or needs a nerf out of all of these, right? Because there was more people that thought Vanessa needed a buff, obviously Camila, and also so just basically all of the Valkyrias. I get too long-winded with this stuff, but all the Valkyrias. So Comptos could just buff all the Valkyrias, skill 1, skill 2s, and that might make people happy with them. Zarath is mostly fine. Eludia, people finally happy with Eludia for the most part. Sean, Julianne, Lima needs nerf. Laura, most people happy with her. She does have the 32% there. Jaeger, most people happy with. Kitian Dasheng. Don't you nerf my Kitian Dasheng! All right. Why you gotta say that? So it's basically all the... Now it's gonna be like, Han needs a nerf too. You just... This is what it is. You guys just want all my fun units to get nerfed. Artemiel, mostly fun. A couple people needs a nerf. He's easy to counter now, though. You just use Onimushas against him. Onimushas, pure damage. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that that counters Artemiel. He's just the last pick. If you pick him too early, it's too easy to beat him. Shazam. Shazam got changed, though. What was Shazam before? Now I'm curious. So Shazam, with the leader skill, gave him 5% more of people happy with him. Needs a nerf. These are people that fought me in RTA. Like, he just AoE revenge. I can't hit any of the monsters without getting attacked in response. Okay, everything else is fine for the most part. There we go. El Sharion needs a... I don't think you guys appreciate El Sharion as much as I think that you should, because El Sharion actually is a counter to some meta units. So, I don't think you guys appreciate El Sharion enough. Or have good enough runes on El Sharion, because I think he's way more useful than you guys give him credit for. Pontos. Isis. 8.9% thinks that she needs a nerf. I mean, people are always going to say buff Isis because she doesn't do any damage. They're like, oh, she doesn't do any... All she does is AoE. AoE Oblivion is very strong, though. Especially for arena offense. I know it shouldn't be just a thing that you take into one spot and like, oh, it's really good for one spot for 1 hour, as I was complaining about Camila. But this is one of my most wanted Nat 5s, is Isis. Wedget for the most part, fine. Oberon for the most part, fine. Oberon got so much more popular from really kind of nothing. Like, he was... I don't think he got changed at all. I have an Oberon on the Asian server. People didn't like him, and then they were like, oh, he's good now. He didn't change. Nothing changed on him. I think just people in SWC and just high-level players were using him more. So they're like, oh, yeah, Oberon is better now. For no actual change of the unit. It's crazy. You guys are so silly. Units don't get changed, and you're like, oh, here's... Yep. Okay, what else? Tianlang needs a nerf. I mean, we're just so used to the attack bar boost meta for years. Tianlang... There's enough counters to Tianlang now. Whether or not they actually activate their skills is a different story. Looking at you, Triton. What else? Celia, 56.3%. Needs a... People hate me. These are all this orange is people that hate me. 56.3%. Comptuous, I feel like you need to take a look at Celia. 56.3%. That's a big blue area. Just saying, she's an LD5. LD5. Eleanor, mostly red. 34 still. Jean needs a... Jean, mostly fine. Volantis, mostly fine. Needs a nerf. There's some... I'm not going to tell you all the good counters to Volantis, but there's some counters to Volantis that are frustrating. Geldnir, Lucifer, Narsha, mostly all fine. Han Wul. Really? I would love a Han Wul, actually. Talisman. God, I would love these units. Please. I was going to say, please give me the units. And then Councils is listening. They're like, we'll give them to you. And then you have to sign an agreement. Like, no, I'm not even opening my LD scrolls. I don't want any of that. I don't want anything having to do with that. Craig needs a buff. Oh, wait a second. I'm thinking of the light one, the dark ones. These are the light ones. I don't know why I'm thinking of the other versions. Okay. Was it Moist Snail Poop? Bring up Moist Snail Poop. Wasn't he? He was like really adamant for a talisman buff, wasn't he? Craig did get a buff though. 36.7% still need, like, he heals a pretty decent amount now. But yeah, Craig. What was Craig before? You guys are like, I don't care. Why are you talking about Craig? Talking about my LD5s. Oh, you know what? Craig wasn't buffed in his last balance patch anyway, so it didn't change. That's why. Saime, okay, mostly fine. Dorothy, you know what? Dorothy, I could get behind. I've been saying that she needs something too. Daniel, I haven't fought Daniel in so long. I don't even know when the last time I fought a Daniel was in RTA. Which just, I mean, sometimes it's just based on the team that you fight. Like, for example, I've seen some other content creators that don't ever fight certain units because of the specific LD5s that they have. Those units never come into play, so they're like, oh, those units are garbage. I never fight them in RTA. It's like, no, you're already picking things that counter the things that would pick. So, of course, no one's going to pick something into you when you already have counters to it on the battlefield. So, yeah, it's just sometimes your draft will make it so that you don't see some units. Not saying this one specifically, just saying in general. This one was just buffed in the balance patch. I haven't even gotten to take a look at her yet after the buff. Benedict, you know what? I've seen enough people say buff Benedict. Dominic is so much better than Benedict. Should be the other way around. Shun, the light Light Shadowcaster. Oh my god, this video is getting so long. Veronica, 35.2%. Think that she needs a nerf. Very strong unit. 35.2%. She is, I think she's one of the, well, I know she's one of the highest win rate units. Is she the highest LD? It's, I don't know right now. I don't really want to check because it's going to make the video super long. But yet she is at least one of the highest win rate units in RTA. People just put in her Swift, make her super fast, and she strips and increase cooldowns. So it's kind of nasty. Ariana Light Pure Vanilla, mostly fine. Audrey Light Holly Berry. We did a video on her. I agree with needing a buff. And most people, a lot of people probably just don't know what she does. But I agree with that, needing a buff. Han, oh goodness, not all orange. This many people. Don't want me to have a Trinity, 70.8%. Trinity. I mean, this is just the thing. All Valkyrias could use a buff. All Valkyrias. If they just buffed all Valkyrias, it would be... They should just address it in one balance patch. Like, I know the older units are not supposed to be... Oh my goodness. Jara, 63.1%. So Gragan is mostly fine, right? Trinity, Jara, poor Trinity and Jara. Zaratu. Cadiz, mostly fine. Gianna, mostly fine. Buff Gianna. 4 Gianna owners in there. Nikki, Ragdoll, Sun Zhang Lao. They just want the activation rate at 100%. I feel like they would be. I feel like Sun Zhang Lao owners could just be, if it was 100%, they'd be like, okay, this is good. Nah, they'll still want more. They'll still want more. Fermion, okay. See, this is another thing. Like, these archangels, just across the board for the most part, and people are going to complain about, like, oh, you just want your Artemail buffed. I'll use him now. I'll use him if he's buffed. I'll use him if he's nerfed. I'll use him whenever. But I think just archangels across the board, like a lot of people want the archangels to be buffed, as we can see from all these blue areas. Needs a nerf. You know what? I've had some issues with Fermions lately. I think I uploaded one of those videos with like just Fermion doing Fermion things. Although some of the, here's the thing. A lot of times it's not even about the units. It's about the violent procs. So. Raul, 41.1%. I mean, he's usable, but I could definitely see that, right? We have, I don't want to say this one because I'll get demonetized from YouTube. Dark Hell Lady, 38.9%. A lot of these are still red. Vermos! In certain situations, Vermos is a great pick, though. Again, it's not always about RTA. I shouldn't say it's always about RTA. Vermos for, well, is he really relevant in a lot of the other areas of the game? I don't think I've used him in Siege much lately. Have I used him in Arena Defense? No. Maybe could stick him in there. I've seen some people do it before. Not really a meta unit for Rush Hour Arena Defense or anything, though. Yeah. I mean, he's really not supposed to be an endgame PvP unit, though. It's like you can use him situationally as a later pick. But he can do really... Against fast, aggressive, debuff-heavy teams, he actually can be useful. But again, it's not... It is a free-to-play LD5, so... Fusible LD5. Then we have Manananan. I could definitely see this. They buffed him in a weird way. I was like, why did they do that? A couple patches ago, but this is really nothing new. I could definitely see that. Sylvia, which is... sometimes very annoying in Siege defense, depending on the amount of turns. But again, this is like doesn't get a whole lot of turns, then it's crazy. It's more the violent runes that are the crazy part than the unit itself. It's what can the unit do with 9 turns in a row. It's not 9 turns in a row, but what can the units do with like 2, 3, 4 turns in a row? So the more they can do, the more ridiculous and more painful it's been for the people playing. We have the Bay, which the Bay keeps getting buffed, and people are like, he still needs more. He's in like every balance patch nowadays. Nephthys can be really nasty. It's the people being bruised by Nephthys. Even though she did actually get a nerf a while ago. Nyx, Mi Ying, mostly fine. Alexandra, Leona, Pater. Pater did kind of fall off because Ganny Hathor fell off, so Pater has not been useful since Hathor is not. So I could see that's probably, well, actually he didn't get changed since the last one. Hertite, Bella, Dark Cannon Girl. Anyone that's seen Obabo play RTA know that she's good. Irgar is fine. Needs a buff. Irgar is fine. He is for PvE. He's not for like the RTA and things like that. He's for PvE. He's got attack buffs. He's got the vampire, the vamp buff, attack power buffs. He's got additional. He gives himself additional turns. He blocks beneficial effects. Irgar is for. He's not supposed to be for everything. He's supposed to be there for PvE dungeons, and he does fine. He's there for like Steel Fortress. He's there for Rift Beasts. He's a great unit for Rift Beasts. Great unit for Steel Fortress. He does what he's supposed to do. So I think Irgar is fine. There shouldn't be a super OP Irgar. What kind of name is Irgar anyway? Then we have Beelzebub. We have Ziana. Both look fine. Mookwall. This is the one I kind of want a Mookwall. Mookwall owner's gonna be like, no, you don't want that. It's not good enough. Like, I could use some very nice Mookwalls. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But I would definitely enjoy playing with a Mookwall. The name is funny enough to enjoy it. Van Cliff, which is the Dark Striker, Dark Ryu. Mostly fine. Some people, I mean, depending on the combination, it could be crazy. Gurkha! Yeah, this is the one that you can thank Sean B for this. I'm going to just say it right out here. You could thank Sean all this orange for him soloing everyone's teams. He's the one that said, this needs to be buffed. And this is the culprit for the 40%, almost 40% people thinking that he needs a nerf. Wasn't me. I wasn't the one saying he needs a buff. Then we have more things that are, for the most part, you're going to be pissed off at me for saying that, but I'm going to say it anyway. More things that are all red. We have Maya, the Dark Totemist. I could see her getting a buff. I think a lot of people just aren't familiar with her too much. I like where their head was. I like where their head was when they were designing her. They're like, oh, let's do something like the opposite with the damage mitigation passive. But I could see her getting a little bit more. Maximilian can be pretty nasty. Ritsu, the Shadowcaster. I think just most people are not familiar. I'm trying to remember what all he does, actually. Because I'm a dumb person. Destiny. I think Destiny is fine for the most. Well, everyone else. Most people think that Destiny is fine. Dark Pure Vanilla, I think, is fine. Dark. Oh, that's the end. That is the end. So, wow, this is way too long of a video. What else is new? What else? It's always way too long of a video. So we got to see for the most part things that we've been saying for a while. Is some things like Trinity, like the Valkyrias. Valkyrias, archangels need to be addressed at some point, hopefully soon. But we should get a good bounce patch after SWC is done. So it's only going to be, it's going to be about 2 months. About 2 months from now, after SWC, we will see something that's pretty significant. Possibly. No, we should, because that's what they do. They do more aggressive balancing after SWC. Anyway, that's it for this one. Sorry it's so long. I don't know why I make these so long. I gotta not do that so much. So, like, 40 minutes of looking at pie charts. Okay, I'm gonna go now. I will see you as always in the next one.